So yes, I'm going to be talking about AI and specifically how it can affect artists. I work for a company called BENlabs, and we are an AI company focused on video intelligence and human behavior. That means that we help creators and brands engage with their audience in intelligent ways, and we do that with proprietary AI technology. And also for the creator space, we have TubeBuddy, which is one of our flagship products. You would have seen our work, even if you don't know the name BENlabs. We've been in the industry doing product placement for over 40 years. So if you saw James Bond drink a Heineken, that was us. If you saw KFC in Stranger Things, that was us too. If you saw Durex in Little Nas X and Sam Smith and Youngblood's music videos, that was also us. And it's not just film and television and music videos that we help, we also help the digital creators as well with our TubeBuddy product. We've got 14 million users on TubeBuddy, which means that if you've seen a video on YouTube, you've probably seen a video that was helped by us. Everyone from Mr. Beast to the BBC through to brand new YouTubers who are only just starting out. We've got patents, we've got awards, we've got all sorts of stuff, but I'm not here to talk about us, I'm here to talk about AI. Specifically, why AI has become so huge in the last 18 months, some of the challenges that we're going to see very shortly regarding generative junk, which may be a phrase that you haven't heard before, why audience and understanding your audience is now more critical than ever, and then I'm going to go through a few quick tools for ways that creators can actually leverage this wonderful world of AI. As we said, this is 30 slides worth of presentation, and I've probably got about 13 minutes, so strap in, I'm going to be going quickly. Why is AI so hot right now? AI has been around since the 80s, and yet all of a sudden it's on everyone's lips. What's happened? The short answer to that is massive amounts of GPU power, massive amounts of data, and some really clever mathematics. The slightly longer answer is what I'm going to give you now. On the screen, you can see three very popular generative AI tools. And that's the thing that all the new AI that everyone's talking about has in common is it's generative, which means it's creating content for you. You can go to DALL-E and give it a prompt like you've seen there, and you can get an output which would have taken hours or possibly even weeks worth of effort in order to be able to produce. Seconds worth of effort. It's amazing. And all of this is now possible, and lots of it is in everyone's hands. But to understand why it's exploded recently, I have to give you a little bit of a data science lesson. Don't worry, it will be quick. For the purposes of this talk, I'm going to split AI into two main groups. You have discriminative AI, which is the stuff that's been around since the 80s, and you have generative AI, which is the stuff that's turned up in the last 18 months. The image on the image here that you can see describes the difference between the two. The first being discriminative. The purpose of this AI is you give it lots of data, you train it, and then you bring it a new piece of AI, data, and it will discriminate. It will tell you which bucket of things does it look most like. This has been used to identify faces, it's been used to identify good moves in chess, it's been used to identify fraudulent bank transactions. It's revolutionized many industries, but it's pretty dull. The one at the bottom is the much more interesting one, which is generative, where we invested so much data into these models that all of a sudden they could do things they could never do before. And they were emergent properties. No one knew that the model was going to start being able to do maths at that point. No one knew whether it was going to be able to start doing maths at all. But by asking it the questions and keeping those tests running, they started seeing these things happen. First, it could do maths. Then it could get words in the right sequence. Then it was writing poems. Then it was passing the bar exam. And this is what happened in late 2022 and has continued to happen, is these tipping points of abilities of these models have continued to fall. But what's really interesting is no one knew what it was capable of doing until you asked. And that's one of the reasons why many AI companies have been opening up these models to the general public to find out what it's capable of doing. And when they did, everyone started using it. Almost all software developers are using it these days. Teachers are going in all in on AI. And you can be absolutely sure that the kids are using it to help them with their homework, help them. Creatives are the same. Creatives are already using AI to be able to support them in their efforts. And what's interesting is when they've done studies, people don't seem to mind. Only 40% of people said they trusted AI-generated content less than standard-generated content, and that's really important. And the adoption has been fast. It took ChatGPT only a month to get to 50 million users. It took the internet 7 years and TV 22 years before that. So this is like nothing else we've seen before. And so now we have this amazing new future. You can generate pretty much anything your heart desires. Even music and video now is possible with generative models. And everyone's got access to it. This is wonderful. It's a great time to be a creative, but it does have some downsides. For those of you that are old enough to remember, there was a period in the early days of the internet where everything was on fire. Every single piece of text had flames on it because Photoshop had the ability to press a button and put flames on your text. Huzzah! Great time you see it when you see it the first time. After that, yeah, not so great. Then the latest version of that is generative junk. The ability to generate thousands of these bits of content with no quality control or filter is resulting in some very interesting problems. Late last year, you could Google, "Can I melt an egg?" And Google would confidently tell you that yes, you could, because it was indexing a Quora article that was a piece of generative junk. And so this is beautifully summed up by a long-dead French mathematician with infinite monkey theorem. With infinite monkeys, typewriters, and time, one of them will eventually write Shakespeare. We've just given everyone infinite monkeys. You can make massive amounts of content for almost no effort of your own. The problem is we haven't given them the time or the judgment or the creative skills necessary to be able to understand if what they've produced is any good. And this is a problem, but this is also an opportunity. As creatives and artists, you know what good looks like. That's what you're trained to do. And as a result, I think this is one of the reasons why creatives and artists are going to be one of the leaders in terms of the new AI revolutions. And yeah, there's been a huge explosion of content, either generated or otherwise, and it's risking drowning our audiences in junk that they just don't want to see. And the platforms are feeling this. You've got Twitter, or X, or whatever they want to call it this day, having real problems with bots, right? They've got huge problems there. Amazon are bringing in new rules on their book publishing side to stop people submitting so many AI-generated books because they're drowning in it. Photo websites are also entirely banning, in some cases, AI-generated content because they can't deal with the volumes that are coming through. And as these volumes increase, the platforms are going to continually and more aggressively lean into the algorithms, because that's how they can deal with this huge swarm of content. And as a brand or as a creator, that means you're going to have to adapt even faster to keep up with this ever-changing landscape. Which brings me to the third point, which is your audience. This is now more than ever even more critical. Many people say the algorithm is the audience, and while it is a good proxy in many cases, ultimately, if you are able to connect your content to the person on the other end of that algorithm, the algorithm will love you for it and will push your content out. So understanding your audience and how to connect to them is now more important than ever. And this indeed is why people use influencers. It's why they do product placement, because they want a shortcut to that authentic connection to an audience. And when we talk about audiences, lots of people talk about demographics, and that was, the predominant way, and still in many cases is the prominent way to discuss and look at and think about audiences. The problem is demographics aren't enough. These two people have identical demographics, but you can be sure that their browser history looks very different. And so from a creator's point of view, if you're trying to connect with one of these two people, your approach and the content that you need to create will be very different. The structured data, the neat boxes that we used to put people in, is no longer enough. You need to be able to understand the unstructured data, the image, the audio, the text, the tone of voice, the connections between content. That's the unstructured data, and the entertainment field is a gold mine for this sort of information because it's what it is. Artists and creatives live in this world, and once again, that's why I think they are going to have one of the biggest advantages when it comes to leveraging these new AI technologies. And it's something that we spend a lot of time at BENlabs worrying about and thinking about. What you can see here is a map of hundreds of thousands of Instagram accounts on the left-hand side. They've been clustered together by our AI, but not just using structured data, it's used the unstructured data of the content and the connections around that content. It puts the creators together that have content that is accessed by the same audience frequently. And this has been amazing. It was incredibly expensive to produce, but it's allowed us to do things that we could never have done before. We can see from an audience perspective which content is similar and which creators are similar. Are you the biggest creator in your cluster? Are you the smallest? And what's even more interesting is when you overlay the audience's other clusters that they're accessing, you can start to see, is my audience really clustered around the content I'm already creating, or do they have diverse other interests, which gives you content ideas, it gives you potential partners, and it's allowed us to scale our influencer campaigns in a way that wouldn't have been possible without this sort of analysis. Also, unstructured data allows you to get into predictive. It allows you to see before content goes live what the potential impact of that content is going to be. Top of the funnel metrics like views and things like that are very easily predictable. When you get further down into things like clicks and conversions, we can still predict those accurately, which has made that when combined with the previous model that you saw about understanding audiences, it's really allowing us to diversify the sorts of creators and the sorts of audiences that individual brands are going after. Once you know that you're going to get an ROI, it allows you to take more risks on creators that you may have never worked with before or that you've never seen before. And this has really been opening up our ability to spread out those brand dollars to more and more creators, allowing them to create more of their content. And basically it works. We launched the Apex Legend game with EA, which was a huge launch, and it only used influencers. We predicted with 99.98% accuracy, I think it was, the number of views that they were going to get in the first 2 weeks before that content went live. And that meant that we could accurately pay the creators, and it meant that the brand was also very happy. We can scale to billions of views, and it works outside of influencer as well. So we do it in the US, we have our AI try to decide which are going to be the next big TV shows, because we do a lot of product placement, and we get 8 out of the 10 best, the highest ranking new TV shows, which beats many, I think almost all of the human critics and their predictions. But that's obviously for the brand side. How as a creator can I benefit from all that great tech? Well, already obviously there's things like GPT, Midjourney and all those sorts of things, and everyone's already using those. Increasingly more and more companies like BENlabs and others are focusing those AIs on the specific problems that creators have themselves. We do this through a product called TubeBuddy. I'm going to show you a few very quick examples. So here's title generator. It takes your existing title and gives you some more options for it. Something as simple as that results in 84% more views for the users that are using it. This one's great as well. This is suggested shorts. It analyzes the videos that you've already put live. It looks at when your audience is most engaged with that video or when they're dropping off. It can then highlight those sections and then repeat them back to you. So you can then either slice that down and use it as a short, or indeed use it as inspiration for an entirely new piece of content. Now, my personal favorite, thumbnail analyzer, what this is doing is it allows you to predict and look at the thumbnail before it goes live, and it will tell you, if you give it 3 or 4, which one it thinks is going to be the highest performing. But as well as that, as you can see on the image on the right, it's able to show you which parts of the image the AI thought was most important in that prediction. And again, the results speak for themselves. Fundamentally, what I'm trying to tell you here is that if you start using these technologies, you will engage with your audience better. And we've done many, many studies that have shown this. I'm not saying you have to use TubeBuddy, there are many other tools out there, but these sorts of tools are giving people a distinct leg up. From our point of view, we've got some really interesting things in the pipe. This is bringing the wonderful mapping technology and clustering technology into the hands of creators, allowing them to see who's in their niche, what's going on. We can also tie that into other external data sources, so we can start seeing what things they're buying on Amazon, the audience is buying on Amazon, or what they're reading on Reddit, to allow you to have that holistic understanding, the unstructured understanding of your audience, so that you can better connect with them. And then you can layer generative on top of that. You can start then providing that information to an AI model and say, hey, give me some ideas based on this audience. Or I'm thinking I'm about to write a new series about this. Give me some ideas for ways that I can describe that to my audience that you think will resonate. And when we've shown this to creators and they've started using it, the feedback has been fantastic. Some of them think that we're hacking into their email because they're already halfway through making some of the ideas it's suggesting. Others, they would, like this one here, for example, is suggesting a collaboration with someone that they had done a collaboration with many years ago. And the person immediately pulled out their phone and was phoning them up, oh, you know, I haven't spoken to you in ages. And seeing that creative spark and those like real human connections as a result of these sorts of tools is what I live for. It's great. I can't talk about AI without a little bit of fear and kind of addressing the elephant in the room, which many people are worried about, is AI going to replace you? No, I don't think it is, personally. And there was a great talk that was given by Richard Baldwin at the World Economic Forum where he said, AI is not going to take your job, it's someone using AI that will take your job. Some of you may have heard this before. Later on, he also says AI is giving more power to all workers, but especially to those average workers. Now, I think that's a little bit derogatory and a little bit harsh, but what he's trying to say there, and I completely agree, is you should lean on AI for the places that you don't want to invest, where you don't have the unique selling point or your strength. If you're not good at doing thumbnails, let AI help you with that. If you're stuck for an idea, let AI help you with that. Focus on the thing that's most important, which is your connection to your audience and that audience trust in you. So, in conclusion, generative AI is powered by artists. Everyone is already using it. Generative junk is a reality. Your judgment and audience are your biggest assets. And with great power comes great responsibility, of course. Thank you. Please like and subscribe.